got our own mic. Looks like it, yeah.
2 nights in a row. Yeah, the Haywood County candidate forum.
Nice.
I'm with you. Nice meeting you, Mr. Whitaker.
Good afternoon, friends and prospective voters. This is the first event we have had to draw together the Henderson and Transylvania branches of the NAACP and Hendersonville Pride to present a political candidates forum. I'm grateful for your presence. And I ask, oddly, for a moment of silence, because that is apparently a called action by the walking Buddhist monks who have recently arrived in Washington, D.C. So a moment of silence. It is my honor to introduce our moderator, who is Councilwoman Melinda Lawrence on the City Council of Hendersonville. She will be moderating and helping us get through these questions.
Good afternoon. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Do you need it? Okay, if you meet me, I will bring it to you.
Okay, now we're ready.
Oh, the absent mind of youth. Use your voice. This is the midterm 2026, and we have candidates present. I am your moderator, Melinda Lawrence. And as Chris has stated, I am City Council, and I'm also the president of the Henderson County branch of the NAACP. So today I'll be wearing dual hats. So if you see City Council on this side and NAACP on the other side, eventually they will merge together, all right? This is a nonpartisan effort. We have invited all candidates running for the U.S. House of Representatives in North Carolina 11th District to this forum. The candidates that are not here today are Representative Chuck Edwards, who's incumbent, Democrat Jamie, I don't want to mispronounce it, Ager, and who's a Democrat, and then we have Mr. Adam Smith, a Republican, who's a challenger. As I stated before, it's nonpartisan. So with the NAACP, whenever a candidate's invited and not able to participate, we do put a chair there for them with their name so that everyone will know that we are nonpartisan and they did receive an invitation. The candidates that are here today are a Democrat, Dr. Richard Hudspeth, Democrat Zelda Brywood, Democrat Paul Maddox, Democrat Lee Whipple, and Libertarian Travis Grew. And if I mispronounce your name, please correct me, because I always correct people about mispronouncing mine. They have a tendency to say Lawrence, but it's Lawrence. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer each question. Oh, is that understood? 2 minutes. Okay. Candidates are asked to give 2-minute opening statements. Yeah, please stand up when you give your statement. That's the echo. Are we ready now for the candidates? All right. First candidate, I believe that's Mr. Whipple. Will you please stand and give an opening statement?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having us here down in Flat Rock. I really appreciate the organization of the NAACP and Hendersonville Pride. I'd like to tell you that I am a civil engineer. I'm licensed in North Carolina. That means I'm able to permit plans with local, state, and federal agencies, and that makes me the most qualified candidate to help with the Hurricane Helene recovery. And I know things have been very bad in Western North Carolina, and I've seen a lot of it, and I've traveled around, and I've read tons of regulations and specifications, and I kind of ferret out the information that I need. And that's just like reading bills in Congress. I've studied law, and I've studied economics, and I want to be able to look at the fine print in these bills and say, hey, this is good, or hey, this is bad, and alert Congress to the things that they need to pay attention to. What I'd really like to do, and the reason that I'm running, is I want to bring my new ideas to Congress. I have plenty of ideas that I've had since 2001, and I've been writing them all down, and I've been studying history and military tactics and political tactics. I'm really I'm a military strategist. I'm a political strategist. And we really need these things to anticipate the horrible things that the administration is doing, and we need to win the narrative. We need to win the election, and we need to do that, we need to win the narrative all across Western North Carolina and all across the country. Thank you.
Is it on? Okay, thank you, Mr. Whipple. Now, we will have Mr. Maddox.
Thank you, Melinda. I'm Paul Maddox. I am a hillbilly scientist. I grew up in the Asheville area, but I spent about a third of my childhood in Yancey County, and my family's been in Yancey County since 1800 or so, as far back as people can really remember. And that makes me a hillbilly. I looked it up. And I'm a scientist. I have a PhD in cell biology, and I'm a professor at UNC Chapel Hill. I've studied cell division for the last 30 years, and trying to understand the real basic fundamental mechanisms of how cells go from 1 to 2, and that is the root cause of all forms of cancer, as you may know. And so cancer is a terrible disease, and it doesn't care if you're black or white or purple or Democrat or Republican or independent. It will affect you in one way or another. And so cancer research is aimed at trying to understand, look at problems from all areas, from all directions, and use all tools to try to solve the problem. And there's a cancer in Congress, and we need to fix that. So I plan to bring a laser-like focus to Congress to look at each problem and decide, okay, how did this come about? How can we fix it? And then fix the problem and show results, right? So I'm Paul Maddox, and I'm a hillbilly scientist.
I don't think you're a hillbilly scientist. Our next candidate is Dr. Richard Hudspeth.
Thank you, Melinda Lowrance. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Hudspeth. I'm a family physician. I got into this race for one reason and one reason only, and that is to defeat Chuck Edwards in November. He has failed us on Helene recovery, on health care, on affordability. And if that isn't enough. Every day, it seems as if I don't recognize our country anymore. We are under attack. I've been practicing as a family doc in Henderson County for over 2 decades, and for the last 10 years, I was leading Blue Ridge Health, Western North Carolina's largest community health center, covering 9 counties in Western North Carolina. While Chuck Edwards was doing everything he could to limit people's access to health care, delaying voting for Medicaid expansion for over a decade, cutting $50 billion from health care in North Carolina, I was actually working to expand care. We more than tripled the number of patients across Western North Carolina who now have access to affordable health care to over 80,000. In addition to that, we actually were able to then take that organization that we built, and in our moments of our darkest times after Helene, we were able to go to some of our most hardest hit areas, up in Barnardsville or down in Chimney Rock, or taking care of the folks in our shelters right here in Hendersonville. But not only here, but also my career of service is abroad as well. So during the Ebola epidemic, I went to West Africa to help fight that there so we didn't have it here. I'm very interested in making sure that I earn your vote this afternoon. So thank you very much again, Richard Hudspeth, and I look forward to our conversation here this afternoon. Thank you.
It is on, okay. Is there a doctor in the house? I may need one, okay. Mr. Grew, you're next, our next candidate.
Thank you very much. And thank you to NAACP and I'm not sure what it is, but
Hendersonville Pride.
Hendersonville Pride. Thank you for putting this on. I really appreciate that. I really believe in freedom for all, and I really mean that when I say all. All means y'all, right? My name is Travis Grew, and I am also the president of Better Ballot North Carolina, and I'm passionate about electoral reform. And it just so happens that Hendersonville is one of the 2 cities that adopted ranked choice voting early on, maybe 15 years ago, as an experiment, but some of our technologies couldn't handle more than 2 candidates at the time, but now it's much easier to do it. So Hendersonville is, I applaud you for taking adopting ranked choice voting, but I'm also in this to help people be able to afford health care. And I really believe that certificate of need laws are preventing access to affordable health care, because the big healthcare networks and the big hospitals have a monopoly on certain services. They have to apply for a certificate of need. We're one of 7 states that are con laws. I want to abolish them. They're called con laws for a reason, because they price manage and they price control healthcare. And I really believe if a doctor wants to buy an MRI machine and offer a service for 1/3 of what it costs, they should be able to do that. And I want to really free the healthcare market. And big pharma and insurance companies and the big hospital networks are in the way, and it's hurting us. And also all the surprise billing that we get. We'll talk about that later. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, now it comes to the lady of the house, Ms. Briarwood.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure being here. My name is Zelda Briarwood. As someone who is a queer person of color, it is always a distinct pleasure when I get to be invited to events like this, because I love seeing representation, adequate representation. My background is in public health, social services, direct service, and education. I was a wilderness guide over at Red Oak Recovery. I did admissions for North Carolina Outward Bound, as well as Cooper Reese. I was a crisis services manager during COVID at Appalachian Community Services. I also was a case manager and victim service practitioner over at Our Voice, which supported survivors of sexual violence and human trafficking. On top of all of that, I'm working class. I've been my entire life, and if there is anyone who knows the value of a dollar, especially today, it is the people of the working class. And it's unfortunate because I look up at Congress and I don't see that representation. I see the same type of person heading on up to Congress on a regular basis, and the people find themselves hoping that their representative will actually listen to them. I vow, as your Congresswoman, to treat every single one of you with the respect and admiration I have as someone who lives with you. I will always value the working class people first and foremost. My allegiance is not to any party. It is to the people of Western North Carolina, and I look forward to proving that today. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, here comes the fun part. The questions. The first topic is health care. Just a little over 2 months ago, the government was shut down over the issue of subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. What would you do to provide Americans with health care relief as a member of Congress? We will begin with you, Ms. Briarwood.
Okay. So the United States pays more for health care than any other country. In fact, it's about $2,000 more per person than the next state, which happens to be Switzerland. On top of that, 72 out of 195 countries in the world have universal health care. That's 69% of the global population. The first country to establish that is Germany. And if I had to pick and choose on what parts of Germany's ideals that we should be focusing in on, it's probably that one over some of the other ones that are going on right now. But here's the thing, like, lack of health insurance is the primary systemic barrier. And health insurance as an industry, it does not provide goods or services. It doesn't contain costs, it doesn't expand coverage, it doesn't expedite care. Its sole purpose is profit. And forgive me for saying this, but there are certain industries that should not profit off of people's pain and suffering. So what I will do is I will expand coverage and invest resources for our more rural populations and have clinics out there. I am currently doing a review and meta-analysis of existing universal healthcare systems and policies. I will then work with colleagues who have proposed meaningful healthcare reform to draft common sense legislation. And last but not least, I will ban for-profit healthcare from the public sector.
Thank you. Mr. Whipple, are you ready?
Always
Do I
ready.
need to repeat the question?
No, thank you. That's fine. Look, I'm for Medicare for all, for sure. But I have a feeling when I get elected in the midterm, there's still going to be a lot of resistance to that kind of idea. And I feel that our time in Congress needs to be spent on things that we can get done. When we have the majority in the House and the Senate, and we have a president who won't veto stuff that we can't do, that's the time to work on health care like Obama did and push through Medicare for all. It should be a kind of a gradated process. The insurance companies are going to lose a lot of their workforce. I don't want that happening all at once. I think also that in our rural communities, we are losing the ability to serve these communities because of the way funding has gone. And so I really think a temporary solution to that would be the mobile units that I've seen where doctors and dentists go out to rural communities and serve those communities in the way that we can over time start to build facilities to serve the rural communities like we need. Now, yeah, I'd like to say also, and I say narrative a lot, I'm the one who understands the narrative that the conservative Republicans and the independents in this country are viewing. We need to win every narrative that comes up in the course of our lives. And we need, in these political situations, we can't necessarily try for something that may seem like the right goal. We have to try for the things that we can accomplish. Thank you.
Mr. Grew.
I think we also have to keep in mind that we're $39 trillion in the hole, and it's in counting. And if we stop spending all this money overseas and funding the military-industrial complex, we would have more money to take care of our own people and protect our own borders. And let's be honest, healthcare is too expensive. It's triple what it should cost, and it has to do with certificate of need laws, and I have a perfect description of what they are. They are state-level regulations requiring healthcare providers to obtain government approval before building new facilities, like you were talking about, expanding services, or purchasing major equipment. These laws aim to control healthcare costs and prevent service duplication by ensuring new projects meet a documented community need. Well, I think the need is there, but the powers that be won't let it happen. They won't allow the doctors to buy this equipment to create more of a free market to where there's more options. It will lower the price. It really will. They restrict competition, protect establishment providers from new market innovations, and can lead to higher costs and fewer options for consumers. Now, if you had 10 different locations where you could go get an operation done versus one location and a long waiting list, what sounds better? It's the 10 options and the cheaper prices. Okay, it's a third. You could knock it down a third of what it costs right now. And let's say you go get a procedure done. You might get 4 or 5 or 6 different bills from different clinics and different doctors. If you go buy something at the grocery store, you know what the price is you're buying. You don't when you go to the doctor.
Thank you. Mr. Maddox.
I agree with what Zelda has said, Ms. Briarwood, and what Dr. Hudspeth is going to tell you in a moment, probably, about healthcare. And I think one of the ways we can actually practically get at this question is to form a team of real experts and then knock on the door of other representatives who we can sort of build a coalition now and push these kind of ideas across the finish line. I want to bring up another aspect of healthcare, which is largely ignored in the press, but the National Institutes of Health budget was proposed to be cut by 48% by the executive branch, and which is unheard of in modern times. And so luckily there are level-headed persons who are combating that at the appropriations level, but the National Institutes of Health funds research across the country and actually across the globe to better our lives, and that's how we get better treatments for things like I'm particularly knowledgeable about cancer treatments, but treatments for heart disease, treatments for diabetes, the GLP-1 medications come from scientific research. I saw somebody give a talk about this about 10 years ago, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then all of a sudden it comes out and into the public. So this is another aspect which we have to pay attention to, and we can't just let things like that just sort of be fed to us without anybody asking a question. How is cutting the National Institutes of Health budget by 48% helpful for the American people?
Thank you. Dr. Hudspeth?
Thank you. Thank you. There's an aspect of healthcare that I want to touch on first. As I said, I was leading Western North Carolina's largest community health center. Community health centers are places that people can go. Everyone can go to get health care. It does not matter the color of your skin. It does not matter who you love. It doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. It doesn't matter what your gender identity is. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. The first words out of our mouths when you come into a community health center is, how can we help you? And that's the way it should be. And health care for everyone is under attack. And I have defended people's right to get health care as they want. And I will continue to do that. I believe that words are important, but actions also are very important. Now, let me also talk to you about, I've put a healthcare proposal out there. I hear what some of the other folks are here, mobile clinics, help rural communities, get out there and get more clinics in rural communities. We've done that. I have done that. We more than quadrupled the number of providers now serving in our clinics in Western North Carolina. I know how to get this done. I also know that healthcare is complicated. It's a $5 trillion business, almost 20% of our GDP. As Zelda pointed out, we already spend twice as much money. Mr. Grew, we don't need more money. I don't need more taxation in healthcare. We just need to spend it differently. And we can get everyone healthcare, right? We're spending more than $2.5 trillion more than we need to. We need to fix healthcare. Certificate of Need isn't going to do it. It is Medicare for all. It is one program, health care for everyone. We all deserve that, and that's what's going to get us where we need to be. It is time for this country to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving right along to question number 2. The topic is affordability. Now, the current federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, $2.13 for tipped employees. It has not increased in nearly 17 years since 2009. This is one example of opportunity inequality. What would you do to improve working class conditions as a member of Congress? And this time I'm going to begin with Mr. Grew.
Thank you. This may be an unpopular view, but I want to abolish the minimum wage completely and leave it up to businesses to decide what they're going to pay their people. Because the government set minimum wage never done well for anyone. It's only going to pay them the bare minimum of what they're allowed to do. So with that said, if a company's only paying $5 an hour, they're probably going to go out of business. They're not going to have any employees. They're not going to have anybody to want to work for them. So when a company's paying more, there's more incentive to grab talent, to grab their workers, and to retain them by paying them instead of a bare minimum government, flat, bare minimum amount. What that if you raise minimum wage, guess what's going to happen? They're going to raise the cost of their products and services, and we're all going to feel that when they raise their prices, because if they're paying more, they still got to make a profit. If they're not making a profit, they're going to go out of business. So therefore, I'm a free market capitalist. It's just what I am. I want the free market to decide the best wage for your talent and for your individual job. And companies will probably actually pay more if you did away with a government minimum wage. I don't agree with a government minimum wage, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Mr. Whipple.
Well, I absolutely believe in a minimum wage, a living wage. And that's because I have worked the jobs where they're paying the minimum wage. I worked in a phone center, a phone call center, where I had to talk about people's benefits from their insurance, which meant that I was doing complicated research on the fly, trying to empathize with the people on the phone. Now, you know what I got paid to do that work? $8 an hour. That's reprehensible. When I worked there for an entire year, I made $850 an hour, and I left very soon after that. Look, I made a spreadsheet, and what it does is it basically takes the population of a state and it compares it with the total population of the country. And if the state has more population, that ratio, the minimum wage will be higher in that state. It will be a living wage that's higher for the populations that have the states that have a higher population. Now, you could do that by county, and it would be even more effective. If you take the population of a county and divide it by the population of a state, you can really get an idea of what the cost of living is in these counties. And you know, I'm a civil engineer, I'm a math guy, I like to work out these little details in spreadsheets, and there's numbers you can change. If you don't like the minimum wage that comes out of there, you can change certain values and you get different living wages. So I definitely believe that there should be a living wage, but we just have to make sure that it doesn't put rural communities, the small businesses there, out of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brownwood.
Real quick, I would like to ask everyone here, when was the last time that you worked a minimum wage job?
Probably in high school.
In high school? 2018 was for me. Doctor?
I'm unemployed right now, working more than I did when I was a medical resident intern. So I'm making less than minimum wage right now.
2018, I worked for federal minimum wage when working over at Red Oak Recovery. That's 16-hour days. 8 days on, 6 days off. It ultimately amounted to about $500 every 2 weeks. The reason why we have a federal minimum wage is because corporations have been known to exploit workers, providing them with little to no, what's the word? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. They're not giving them enough, y'all. They're not providing enough. We went through this about 100 years ago, and now we're doing it again. We had robber barons 100 years ago. How is that any different than the massive amounts of corporations that are holding us all hostage right now? I support a federal minimum wage. It should be up to at least $20 an hour, and then pegged to the consumer price index and the rate of inflation. Because if we can't afford to pay people a living wage, then we are failing as a country. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Hudspeth, we'll let you go this time, and then after you, Mr. Maddox.
All right, thank you. yes, we need minimum wages. They work, they set a standard, they set an expectation. But the other thing that I also want to point out is, anyone know what our federal poverty guideline for just one person in this country is? Yeah, it's like $14,000. I ask you to ask Chuck Edwards, if you can see him when he's driving around in his little minivan, if he could live on $14,000 a year, right? It is absurd what we're doing. But there's another part to this equation, and that is the expense of living. And those are the things that I want to tackle. Imagine a life where you didn't have to worry about health care. That's what I want to do, right? My daughter texted our little family chat, said, "Wish me all luck. I'm officially uninsured. Could not afford the ACA subsidies. She's out. It's going to cost her $8,000 a year with a $10,000 deductible. She's young and healthy. She's going to pay $18,000 into the system that was literally going to do nothing for her." Absurd. We must and can do better. What have we done around affordable housing? We have not seen anything from Congress or representative about how to actually make housing more affordable. We haven't gotten anything from Helene recovery. There's an opportunity for us to use some of that Helene recovery money that we should be getting to help us with our affordable housing issue. Last but not least, running a business, childcare. We see other states, New Mexico, who have solved the problem and have universal childcare. Let's imagine taking these things off people's plates. No health care, affordable childcare, affordable housing. All of a sudden, without even increasing wages, you've made their overall life a heck of a lot better. That's what I want to do if you honor me with your vote to get me to Congress. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we didn't have a minimum wage, what do you think Chuck Edwards would pay his McDonald's employees? Yeah, a big fat zero. Well, probably he'd pay him in fries or something. Of course, we need a minimum wage, and we need a living wage. I mean, that's a radical concept, right? To live. That's just. It seems so simple, yet so radical in concept. Zelda's right. We have to tie the minimum wage into inflation and other economic measures, so that it doesn't take 17 years or whatever it is for it to increase. It can increase on an annual or biannual basis, and that way we stay ahead of this and we don't get into this behind the eight ball problem again. It's shameful that people have to decide whether or not they are going to pay their health care or buy a banana at the grocery store. It is incredibly sad and humbling that this is a problem in our modern life. I believe getting a group of people together and solving this problem is not a difficult thing. But again, we need a coalition that is bipartisan in order for these things to get pushed through, right? So we need to collect the middle and make sure that we can get things done in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this is impromptu. We need to allow the three absentees to comment. Dole, have you heard from either one of them? What about Chris? Kathleen Reed? Okay, we'll go to the next question. Question number 3. The topic is Helene. Given the experience of inadequate relief from Hurricane Helene, what specific action should Congress take to address this situation and to reestablish the constitutional separations of powers? I think we'll begin with this time. Let me see. I'm not going to flip a coin here because I don't have enough coins up here in my pocket. Mr. Whipple.
All right, guys. I want to hear some pre-applause to wake you up a little bit.
That's right.
Ah, here we go. A little bit of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Look. Hurricane Helene was the worst disaster to happen to Western North Carolina, and one of the worst disaster to ever hit America. Just from the things that I saw, the way the North Fork Reservoir was blown out, the way that just the loss of life, the destruction of our ability to have water, our ability to have power and cell service, it was just astonishing. One idea I had, the funds, there's the hazard mitigation program with Michael Watley. He was a Trump appointee. I don't even know that if he's just delaying it out so he can take that money and go somewhere else with it. If he's a Trump appointee, I wouldn't be surprised. But there's ideas that we can use. For one thing, the I-26 project with Patton Avenue, where they're going to build a huge bridge across there and fix the intersection, that's over a $2 billion project. It's not killing us right now not to have it. And I know the DOT already awarded it to the contractor, but frankly, we could go to them and say, and I'd be the guy to do it, we could go to them and say, listen, we could really use that money, and you obviously know how to build roads and bridges. Let's get some of that money for real relief. That'd be a start. I know the players that are supposed to be bringing the relief to our Western North Carolina community, and I'm a civil engineer. I'm licensed, and I'm the one who can figure out how to distribute the money in an effective way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are you ready, Mr. Grew? You notice when I call on him, he just gives me that big smile and a wink, wink.
No, Helene was awful. And from what I understand, a lot of the families who lost everything, their house, all of their belongings, got a $750 check or something like that, which is an insult. And again, it goes back to where our country is blowing out the money overseas, Ukraine and all these other countries and 70 other bases all across the country where we're playing world police. All that money and all of our troops should come home, and we should stop fighting those wars so we can actually build our own infrastructure up. And from what I also understand is FEMA was a complete disaster, and they weren't even letting locals bring in water and food to the people. So I want to do an investigation on FEMA and the legitimacy of FEMA. They almost did what they did with Katrina in New Orleans. They start practicing martial law, telling you have a curfew, telling you can't feed your neighbors, you can't bring food and water. And they wouldn't let helicopters go rescue people, and they know the mountains. These hillbillies and the mountain people know where to go, and they wouldn't let them do it. To me, that's a disgrace. And FEMA needs to answer to that. I'm not happy with FEMA, and I don't know who was in charge of FEMA at the time, but they did a terrible job. I want to bring the power back to the people and the local communities where it's always belonged, where it always should be, and where it should stay. Because the communities know the communities better than some outside federal agency that's just going to bark orders and ruin the operation for the locals. So that's my take on it.
Thank you. Dr. Hudspeth.
We know, we feel it every day, what our current congressman got a seat on the powerful House Appropriations Committee. I'm going to help. Get me on that committee. I'm friends with Donald Trump. And we've seen, 10% of what the total bill is. Now, none of this is really owed because they don't have a structure within FEMA to sort of say, well, based on this natural disaster, we're going to get you this. But based on past natural disasters, most places have received 60 to 70% of whatever that total bill was, and we're at about 10%. The likelihood that we're going to get anything out of this government at this moment in time, like it's primed to do it. We have a Republican congressman, we have a Republican House of Representatives and Senate, and a Republican president, and we're not seeing anything. So the first thing we need to do is we need to flip this seat in North Carolina so we get a Democrat in there. We need to flip Congress in order to get Congress acting like Congress again. And when we can do that, you know, they came in from day one, they said FEMA is a disaster. Certainly, FEMA hasn't been doing what we expect it to do. But I will say that FEMA and government is us. It is up to us to make it what it needs to be for us. And they came in and they said, we're going to fix it. No, first they said, we're going to get rid of it. Then they said, we're going to fix it. And then they said it was fixed, and it's not. We need the leadership of the House of Representatives, the People's House, in order to go and make sure that there's proper oversight of FEMA to get it to do what it needs to do and to write legislation to make sure that when a natural disaster happens, this is what the government can help. Definitely local control of where that goes is absolutely certain. I also need to say that we need to hold people accountable. Kristi Noem needs to be held accountable and likely put up for impeachment for what she's done for Helene and what she's doing on our streets with ICE. And it starts with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Maddox.
In Yancey County, there's the Yancey County annual budget is about $31 million a year. And they spent that all before September of last year in cleanup, expecting to get money, backfill, and additional monies to help clean up from Helene. There's a bridge on Blue Rock Road, which many of you probably don't know, which is a state bridge, a large one, that is only way across the river for about, I don't know, 30 miles in either direction. And it's gone, and there's no sign of it coming back. There's Richard is right. It's oversight is the key factor here, right? So there are decisions being made. People are doing jobs, air quotes, and so nobody's asking. Okay, well, Congress is not asking, where is this? How is this helpful? What are you doing? What did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? What are you going to do tomorrow to make this work? And Congress is supposed to do this. This is the balance of power in Congress, which is gone at the moment. The government is sick and it needs help. And so I want to go to Congress and use all the analytical tools that I've learned over the years to solve the problems which we're facing today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Miss Briarwood.
So North Carolina has requested 48% of the damages to be covered out of $60 billion. We've had about 8% covered from the federal government. As perspective, Sandy in 2012, they got 78%. Katrina in 2005 got 73%. Maria in 2017 was 73%. Matthew in 2016, 53%. And Irma in 2017 was 32%. Our campaign is a community coordinated campaign. We spent 7 months traveling the district, asking people what their needs, wants, and expectations are, and we developed our platform from there. I am grateful that my opponents are starting to pick up on these ideas because everyone's voice deserves to be heard, and the people of Western North Carolina deserve actual representation that reflects what they need. But I do think it's worth mentioning that we didn't poll test our points. It is a direct result of talking with the people. They weren't chosen a month ago. We've been saying it since May. I say all of this because I think it's incredibly important for the voters to know the difference between performative and actual representation. So, the other thing that I would like to also mention, when it comes to accountability, I think that we need to do better than just impeaching one person. I think that we need to hold every single person in this administration accountable, top to bottom, all three branches of government, for taking away our democracy from us, because I refuse to leave it any worse than it already is for our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, Doyle, have you had any phone calls from the three absent candidates? Okay. How far does Jamie live from here? We still have an hour and 10 minutes. Okay. Excused. Thank you. Moving right along to the next question. Question number 4. The topic is constitutional rights, checks and balances. If you were a member of Congress today, what specific action would you take to hold each branch of government accountable to the laws Congress legislate? We're going to begin with you, Ms. Briarwood.
Can you repeat the question real quick?
Okay. I'll read it once again for you. If you were a member of Congress today, what specific actions would you take to hold each branch of government accountable to the laws Congress legislate?
I think that let's start with U.S. term limits is a fantastic way to get started. Polls about 82% with the people of Western North Carolina, so definitely something to take into consideration. We're going to pull that back so we don't have so much feedback. I think we actually need an accountability program outside of impeachment and trial, because what we're seeing right now, y'all, is that just not happening. And it can't just be one-sided of a branch of government that is ultimately going to do it, because we just have to sit there and hope that one side decides to do the right thing, and then the other side decides to do the right thing. I think we need to have a serious conversation about what accountability looks like moving forward. And one of the proposals that I have been discussing with people, and it's received pretty good feedback so far, is bringing up an entirely new branch of government. This branch of government, sole responsibility is to audit all other branches of government and hold them accountable, as well as be responsible for any impeachment trials and removal of every single person, both elected and appointed, because we got into this situation in the first place. Those are the things that I can see. But at the end of the day, I have to ask y'all. I have to ask you to actually choose someone who wants to be held accountable and is willing to hold other people accountable, especially in hard circumstances. Thank you.
There we go. Mr. Grew, because I'm going to go straight down the line this time. I did a little mixology there for a while, so we're going to go just straight down the line.
Your mic always goes out on me. I don't get it.
It's that smile.
No, we want to talk about draining the swamp. I think that needs to happen. And I'm not partisan. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. But anybody on that Epstein list and all these other corrupted files need to go, period. It's not a party thing, man. And if you're not doing your job, you should be fired. I mean, just like if you're not doing your job at your day-to-day 9-to-5 job or whatever hours you work. And I'm going to really just go back to the 10th Amendment. It states, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. They are to represent us. And if they're not, and it's not their job, then it's our job to fill in the gaps and to take care of our communities and our people. Government is a bunch of flawed human beings, just like we all are, just like I am. We're all prone to mistakes. Creating a partisan, another branch of government that's half Republican, half Democrat, and very little independence is going to be the same scenario of one party and the pendulum swinging one side to another. And every time it swings, we the people get hurt every single time. So the pendulum really has to stop swinging so we stop getting hurt every single time and the prices stop going up so we can survive. Because the partisanship and the back and forth and the bickering and the complaining and not being willing to listen is part of our problem. And so I want to be one to listen first, not to respond, but to understand where someone's coming from and then take action. So.
I think by now everyone knows the candidates' names, right? Okay.
Perfect. The Constitution is also filled with obligations that Congress has, and in particular, the House of Representatives. Some people say these are co-equal branches of government. The way I interpret the Constitution, the House of Representatives is the most powerful branch of government. It is the People's Party. It is the form of government that is the most representative. So, if we believe that there is lack of accountability and lack of oversight and the things that aren't happening, who has the ability to make changes? That's you, the voters. So you have a choice to make in this election. Who do you think can beat Chuck Edwards? Who can go to the House of Representatives and from day one work on getting that House of the people representing the people once again? Making sure that their oversight and their constitutional obligations are being held and holding people accountable. All right? That means, and currently, what we have are lots of different tools within Congress to do that, right? Impeachment is one of them. Oversight, power of the purse, making sure that when Congress says this is what we're going to do and this is how we're spending the money, that it gets done that way. We're seeing a little bit of that right now. If you saw the news today, there's a few Republicans that have now flipped to make sure that we are holding the executive branch accountable. So there are cracks in this in order to make sure that we, the people, take over our government and get the folks that represent us elected and move this country forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Affordability by accountability. If we hold people to account, we will make things affordable. Why? Prove to me, prove to us, prove to the American people that random tariffs on countries that may or may not have irritated our beloved Commander-in-Chief are helping us decide whether or not we can buy 2 tires or 4 tires on our car next winter. I just had to do that, so I'm thinking about it. So accountability, right? It's a simple word, and we all should live to be accountable. And I believe that if we simply hold members of government accountable, that all of a sudden a lot of problems are going to become solved. We can things are start to be affordable. We can so accountability. How has spending money on a $2 million smart bomb blowing up boats in the Caribbean, how is that helping the American people afford groceries, right? Accountability. Somebody has to account for that. They haven't shown any proof that those people were actually criminals, right? They thought, oh, well, we have proof, but, oh, yeah? Show us the proof, you know? Accountability. That's what accountability is. And it's a very simple concept, but it just needs to be applied. And we need people in Congress who are going to stand there and say, you have to be held accountable. What you just told me is not accountability, sir or ma'am. So that's what I plan to do, and let's hold people accountable so things will be affordable.
Thank you.
Look, the checks and balances in the government kind of come down to the responsibilities of the different branches. The Congress is supposed to make the laws, the Supreme Court is supposed to interpret the laws, and the executive branch is supposed to enforce the laws. Right now, we have a president who is making laws and amassing power and lying with no consequence to him at all. What I'm thinking of, we've been talking about accountability. There was a branch of government, the inspectors general, and they're supposed to be looking for accountability in the separate branches of government so that they can find fraud and corruption. But you know what happened to them? Trump fired them all. We need to take this fight to Trump. And right now, we're going to be entering a partial government shutdown for a fight over the DHS funding. Now, what happened during the last government shutdown? Didn't really work out too well. We got exactly zero. What we need to do as a political strategist is basically shut down the airports, which is sort of a part of DHS. The reason to do this is because Democrats, it would be a huge inconvenience for the airports to be shut down. But for Republicans, it's a lifeline. They can't handle it. And in this policy, which we have to get with pilots and air traffic controllers and stewardesses, we have to push this through so that we can get ICE off the streets, no face masks, no military weaponry, we need cameras, we need no administrative warrants for ICE going into homes. ICE is the fight that we have to win with this government shutdown. And that's the kind of thing that I would bring to Congress if I was elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, now, question number 5 is on the screen, but I'm a firm believer in equal means equal. And some of you out there know where that term comes from. So since I put you on the spot earlier, Ms. Briarwood, after you had answered a question, and you probably wasn't ready, Mr. Whipple, it's your turn. Is this about data centers? All right, I will read the question.
Yes, data centers. I don't need the question.
Technology, accountability.
Yeah, technology and accountability. One of the first things we have to do is get rid of lies on social media. The whole concept of the falsehoods, they're basically going out instantaneously to millions of people. And that is like shouting fire in a crowded theater. It's corrupting our democracy, and it's causing polarization, and people are actually believing these lies. And I think that's a more important subject than data centers right now. One solution I might have is sort of controversial, but I think people should self-label their content so it can be investigated. Fact and fact, opinion and opinion, entertainment and entertainment. It's no fun, really, but something has to stop the lying on social media. Frankly, data centers are here to stay. There's things like crypto coin, which I hate, but there's a zillion people using it. There's things like AI, but we need that for our national defense. I'm scared about where it could go, but it's something that is not going to go away. One thing that we could do is try to put a data center in a place where they actually have kind of drought conditions, because these data centers need water, and they consume the water to cool down their servers. A plan to help with that would be, once icebergs have broken off, collect them, transport them to the places where they are. They can help out with the drought, like Lake Mead or Lake Chad, where it's causing war and disease and poverty. And they can use this. And also maybe put solar panels on top of these warehouses. They have massive warehouses. It would help with some of the power generation.
Can we read the question for the stream, please?
Yes, Mr. DeLong, okay. I'll read the question. There is evidence that data centers are polluting water sources and causing increased costs for Duke Energy consumers due to rapidly increasing demand on the power grid, leading to a socialized cost for our communities and privatized profits for tech companies. As a member of Congress, how would you hold tech development companies accountable to the American people? Dr. Hudspeth.
I'm going to maybe interpret this question a little bit differently than perhaps it was meant to be, but I see two things in there. I see one is environmental protections, and I see another, the use of energy and the cost and how we're structuring energy in this country at this moment in time. How people are using water. We need to protect, make sure we have clean air, clean water, healthy environments. As a physician, I understand how important these are to people's health, but I also understand how important it is for this country. What we have seen from this administration is the destruction of the EPA, of other regulatory bodies that we entrust the government to make sure that we have the safeguards in place to make sure that when we pass on to our children and our grandchildren, we have a better planet than how we started. Begins also, this question is about energy and who pays for it. Well, certainly, if people are going to, like data centers, use more of it, then they should be paying more for it. It shouldn't come down to consumer. I don't know if any of you, I mean, my energy bill is out of control right now. And I mean, the house I have is very efficient. So, you know, clearly we are paying for these things already, and we need to make corrections to that. With that said, you know, this is a one basket operation in their energy function, and that is drill, baby, drill. Oil and gas, coal, that's it, fossil fuels. We need to get back to where we were before. Make sure that we have a variety of energy sources that help what this country is going to look like in the future. Solar, wind, yes, some fossil fuels, other mechanisms, and get back to actually researching and providing investments in research to make sure we have the things that we need to do to have a healthier environment and a better energy structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brownwood.
So as of right now, Duke Energy is already charging you for future data centers. And it doesn't matter if they actually get built or not, you're still getting charged, and they don't have to give that money back. I think we also need to recognize that we have so many people that have not received the hazard mitigation support that they need. And what ends up happening, whether it be a small business or residential housing, when that is not offered to the people, private equity firms will come on in and buy it up and then immediately sell it on out. What is happening with our AI data centers is it is siphoning electricity from the grid and precious resources that need to be prioritized for human beings first and foremost. I think one of the things that truly terrifies me in regards to data centers is right now there is no regulation in regards to AI. It was put into the big beautiful bill that there was a moratorium on any regulation going out towards AI. The AI that we are interacting with right now is what's called large language models. They're essentially made to scour the internet and regurgitate information. It's not meant to do analysis for you. It is often wrong. It will hallucinate. If AI centers continue to be prioritized over the people, I shudder to think, y'all, of what happens when they start actually developing AI.
Thank you. Mr. Maddox?
I've used artificial and, yeah.
No, that means your time is up.
It's been great, thank you. I've used artificial intelligence in one form or another since the 90s, and for research. And it's a wonderful and powerful thing, and it has the potential to really move research into the diseases and cancer at a lightning speed. It also has the potential to do incredible harm. And as somebody who knows, I have firsthand experience using artificial intelligence, and I know how these models are built, and I know how they exploit different informations. I think I'm pretty well qualified to voice an opinion on this. There's one other scientist in Congress, right, out of 435 seats. And so I would be scientist number 2, and I will be scientist number 2. And I'll be the first elected official from Yancey County, I'll have to say, to go to the federal government. But I digress. In Cherokee County, there are data centers that are being made and that are operating, and the power bills are spiking. And they are taking water, cold mountain water, out of the streams. They're cooling off their servers, and then they shoot it right back into the stream. Now, this is a perfect opportunity to get independent votes and moderate Republicans. They care a lot. These people care a lot about fishing and hunting and stream ecology. This is an area where we can help, again, build a coalition of people who are independently minded, who can help us win this election, because we can't win it without their vote. And this is an important thing to consider when we move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last but least, Mr. Grew.
One of my favorite things to do, probably top 3 things, is go hiking and explore the mountains. You guys have the best out here. I live in Greensboro, but I come out here and go hiking all the time. And the environment is extremely important to me. So going back to the accountability discussion that Paul was hitting on big time, was if elected, I will make sure that each company that pollutes is held 100% accountable for their pollution, period. if you own a piece of property and you pollute on your neighbor's land, you're responsible for that cleanup. You did it. Taxpayers and the community should not be held liable for somebody else's polluting mistakes. So that's the number one thing we can do, is hold them accountable 100% for every single bit of pollution that they did as a private or a public company. If they did it, they have to pay to clean it up, not us. We have to quit cleaning up their messes. And so accountability is the best way to put it. If you make the mess, you got to clean it up. If you spill on your neighbor's yard or in the street and you don't clean it up, you're the bad guy. You got to clean it up. You polluted, you clean it up. You throw that piece of trash down, or you spilled oil in your neighbor's driveway, that's not on the neighbor, that's on you. So I'm going back to individual responsibility, individual accountability. So that's where I'm going to leave it. If elected, if you pollute, that's on you. You have to clean it up.
Thank you. Now that ends the part of response to questions from our candidates. I want to ask the candidates, do you need a break? Do you need a brief break before we go into community? What? Okay.
At this point, I have only 3 submitted questions. Do others have questions?
All right. They will be coming around collecting those questions. This certainly has been an honor and a privilege to be your commentator. This is the first time I feel like Rachel up here now, you know?
You did awesome.
Thank you. And I would be remiss if we didn't recognize, are there any local candidates out in the audience? Just raise your hand or stand. Are there any elected officials in the house right now? Okay.
You are.
Reed's a candidate? Yes. Thank you, thank you. It's not easy volunteering for this to represent your community, your county, city, or state. I do not take it lightly, and I'm sure as candidates you do not take it lightly as well. We have a responsibility to our constituents. So have we collected? Okay. And I want you to know, if any of you are elected or all of you are elected, you work for your constituents. They do not work for you. You want me to close my eyes while I...
Close your eyes, and we're going to go back and get some more questions, too.
Did you shake them up enough?
I shook them up good.
Oh, wait. Okay. The first question is, how did each of you develop your platform, and has it changed since you announced your campaign? Who would like to go first? Okay.
Look, my platform is not something that I decided on when I decided to run. I have been a student of history and a student of economics and military strategy and political strategy. I read a biography of Walter Cronkite and the 3-volume biography of Teddy Roosevelt. Ever since 2001 and the terrorist attacks, I woke up. And I said, I've got to pay attention to what's going on in this world. And so since that time, any time that I've read anything, I've written it down. If I write down a quote, if I read a quote that interests me, I write it down. contacts that I see on the news. I have probably 20 pages of experts in their field, so that if I need advice on something, I can go get it from these experts. I'll be able to contact them. And all these ideas that I've written down over the 25 years that I've been studying nonfiction, I just want people to be able to hear them. I want Congress to be able to understand these ideas and really, some of them are bipartisan, some of them are obvious to almost any person that would hear it say, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. So that's my platform, is my new ideas and the ideas that I want to bring to Congress and make sure that Congress is hearing them. Thank you. Lee Whipple, vote for me in the primary. Thank you.
Would any other candidate like to respond to that question?
Sure. As a physician, I've been in healthcare for a long time. I've felt the issues with healthcare through my patients, also through my employees, family members as well, whether it's physical health, mental health, dental health, all of those things. So I came out originally all about healthcare. I have spent my life in healthcare. I understand what our issues are, and so that platform, came from my career as a physician. I see, as we've talked about, there were times in my life I didn't have health insurance. And here I mentioned my daughter not having health insurance, but a lot of my patients also didn't have health insurance. We are the wealthiest country on earth, spending twice as much as what we need to spend. We can cover 25 million more people on health care and actually save costs. So healthcare platform, it's out there, it's been there. But I also felt some of these issues from my own employees again and family members about how hard it is to survive. Housing costs, again, childcare. How many employees, some of them, I was honored to I delivered a lot of babies here in Henderson County. I actually delivered some of my employees in there. I'm going to come back to work, and 12 weeks later after their FMLA, I can't find childcare. Can't find it. I can't come back to work. But they wanted to. But they didn't have a choice. So those pieces of my platform have been developed from those. Then, when we all probably decided to get into this race, none of us imagined what we were going through right now. Whether it's ICE, whether it's tariffs, all of these things have come up. And so those platforms, and I'm not speaking for the others, but have developed over in reaction to what's happening and trying to understand what that leadership looks like and what does it mean to us as a country, and what is that vision that we hear from folks as we're campaigning to figure out what direction we need to go. Thank you.
I'm not a politician. I'm a scientist and an educator. Helene scared the dickens out of me, and I came to get my my mother, my brother, my stepfather, and their 2 cats. As I was driving across the field after a harrowing 7-hour drive, my brother ran to me and said we wouldn't have made it another day. And as we were driving out, there was a helicopter landed and was asked, "Is anybody else left up the river?" And they were like, "Well, no, they were the last house there." So that sparked something in me. And then last spring, my research grants were cut in the name of government efficiency by Mr. Elon Musk, and I had to abandon my research projects. I had to fire my lab. It was 30 years of my life taken from me, and it wasn't by choice, right? If you retire, you choose to retire usually. If you're most of the time you can leave your job on your own terms. I could not. I'm a tenured professor. I can still teach, but which I love to do. But the heart of what I am about is solving problems, research problems. Now, I asked myself, how did we get to this point? Well, it's accountability, it's oversight. Nobody asked the question, how is this, what decision that you're making right now, making our country a better place? And it's a simple thing. Ask that question, get an answer, and make people accountable for what we're doing here. That's why I'm here, and that part hasn't changed.
Thank you. Next question. Oh, you like to answer?
So I did touch upon this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating. The way that we established our platform was by traveling Western North Carolina and talking with the people about their needs, wants, and expectations, and we developed it from there. It's not my agenda, it's not the agenda of any party, it's the agenda of the people of Western North Carolina. And I will name that there have been points where it has shifted, but every single time that we've shifted it, we've announced it publicly in forums saying, this is what it was, and this is where we are right now. So as an example, when we first started, people were asking for about $15 to $17 for the minimum wage. It's since gone up to $20. People were apprehensive about universal health care. That's changed. And it makes me so excited that after Helene, when we saw the best of Western North Carolina, us coming together as comrades, we didn't care if you were left or right. We cared because you were a human being. That sentiment is still alive and well today. And it is actually a recorded phenomenon that happens when people go through disasters. It happened with Sandy. It happened with Katrina. It's happening here right now. When people go through hardships and see the value of caring about the people that are next to you, that level of altruism is so hard to just dismiss. And that's where we are here in Western North Carolina.
Thank you.
I'll go real quick. My platform has changed just from current events. But if you don't have principles and you don't stand on your principles, you can be flown around to the left and to the right based on current events and what's going on. But at the end of the day, I want to keep government out of your bedroom and out of your pocketbook as much as possible. And when I said I'm for freedom for all, I really, really, really mean that. It's not a buzzword. I'm not trying to virtue signal. It is freedom for all people. And I really, really mean that. And that part of my platform will never change. So,
Thank you. Dole, I would like for you to take the box to the gentleman in the fourth row with the baseball cap on. Let him pull. We want to get everyone involved. I believe we broke bread together at St. James. All right, thank you. What will you do as a member of Congress to advocate for, is that AL? I can't read this writing. Come and help me out. Okay, an end to the U.S. Israel-led genocide against Palestinians. Okay, see, two heads are better than one. All right. Who wants to go first?
Johnny on the spot.
You think you're going to get an A for tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to sit right up in front and take notes about everything the teacher says. Look, the whole conflict in Gaza has been kind of a nightmare. But we got to remember that it was a nightmare that started it too. I saw a documentary about the music festival. It was about the music festival that was right on kind of the border between Gaza and Israel. It was right on the wall. And the terrorist attack that happened there, it was the most awful thing that I'd ever seen. I saw music goers, they hid in a bunker, and a terrorist just threw a hand grenade in there. And it was the most awful thing I've ever seen. But frankly, Israel has taken this and gone so far overboard in their response and in their humanitarian catastrophe that's happening in Gaza right now, that it's really just gone too far. I would try to advocate to stop selling offensive weapons to Israel until all the borders were open for humanitarian aid. And frankly, I would try to stop whatever crazy, it's a development. It's like a kind of like a vacation development that Jared Kushner is planning in the Gaza Strip. Are the Palestinians going to be able to live there? I don't even think so. So it's just, they're just pushing out the Palestinians from their land. And also the bulldozing of olive trees. I don't know if you heard about that. Palestinians have farmed olive trees. Trees are one of the most sacred things that I hold dear. And to bulldoze olive trees down and destroy a man's livelihood is one of the worst things. So we've got to put a stop to Israel's actions right now.
Thank you. Would another candidate like to respond to that question?
Yes, I will say I am anti-war to the core. And we're funding both sides of the war, and we have been for centuries. I'm a non-interventionalist. Yes, there's bad things going on all over the world. Is it the United States' role to play world police? That's a real question. We keep funding the military-industrial complex by the trillions and trillions and trillions. I mean, that amount is just spinning so fast you will blow your mind. We're supplying bombs to Russia, to Ukraine, to Israel, to Iran. We're selling them planes and selling them weapons of mass destruction. We're funding this thing. It has to stop. We have to stop funding wars. We have to end wars. We have to pull our troops home. We have to stop meddling in all these other countries that's not the United States and get back to our Constitution, which means we defend and protect our border, not the border of 70 other countries. If there's one thing I'm passionate about, it's being a peaceful nation and being anti-war to the core. We cannot spend money on funding wars anymore. It's never going to end between Iran and Israel. If you read the Bible, it's not going to stop. It's going to get worse. We have to pull back and stop funding it, because that's what we're doing. So remember this, I am anti-war to the core, and I don't apologize for that. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to.
I'd just like to say we're not funding Palestine or Iran with any weapons right now. I think that's confusing.
I actually agree with you in regards to it. We are spending way too much money on the military-industrial complex. The U.S. military is also the #1 polluter in the world, so that's something to take into consideration as well. But let's take a look at that real quick. In 2026, U.S. military got $1 trillion for their budget. In 2027, they're requesting $1.5 trillion. Extending healthcare subsidies would cost about $25 billion a year. Free school lunches for all students, $11 billion a year. Housing for the homeless, $10 billion a year. A federal paid parental leave program, 10 to 20 a year. Billion, sorry. Free college tuition, $75 billion. Together, that is less than the increase that they're asking for. We can pay for this with the budget that we already have if we actually prioritize the lives of American citizens first and foremost. But I also think that I agree with you there. If you make the mess, you clean it up. We've been complicit with genocide. We've been fueling them this entire time. We have our hands in that mess, and we have a moral responsibility to clean that up before we actually start using the United Nations as a collaborative effort to hold all countries accountable and not just have it be the United States being the police of the world.
Well said. Very well said.
As a physician, I believe we have an epidemic of violence, not only in this country, but in this world. I do believe that the United States has a role to play, and that role is pro-peace. Language matters. We had a Department of Defense, they turned it into a Department of War. How about a Department of Peace? How about we start focusing on what we want our future to look like? And with that, we're going to need people that are interested in actually getting to peace. I am pro-Palestinian. I'm pro-Israel. I'm pro-folks in Minnesota. I'm pro-US. I'm pro-Venezuela. Everyone. We have a similarity there. But we can and should use our influence for peace. We need to find the right people. Don't think Netanyahu's the right person. Don't think Hamas is the right group. We need to get to the folks that are interested in peace and support them in the way that, really the way that we're spending all this money on this other stuff, and use it for peace. Thank you.
I'll be really brief. I agree with a lot of what's been said. This particular conflict has been going on for millennia, and it is deeper than any of us probably in this room can understand and feel. I don't know. I don't want to put anything on you. Maybe you've been you're to Palestine, and I'm not aware of that. But it is an incredibly powerful and complicated situation, and we need peace. We need to figure out a way to get people to talk to one another and figure out how we can live together. This is our planet. This is our as far as I know, and I think we need to just figure out a way to live together here in peace.
Thank you. All right, Dole, if you would take that, the basket back to the back row, on my left to the young lady sitting next to Jerry Smith at the door. And while you're at it, let's do one more. Let's get Reverend Cannon over here. Okay, I lied. We're going to do one more. We're going to do three. The young lady on the fourth row in the back with the glasses on with the smile on her face. Time is of essence here, because we need time for rebuttal, right? Okay. Hey, I'm in charge, okay? Thank you. I said 3. I'm going to adopt him later. Okay. This question is, how will you appeal to the unaffiliated voters, the majority bloc, just about everywhere? How will you appeal to the unaffiliated voters, the majority bloc, just about everywhere?
I'll go first on that one. In Yancey County, Avery, and Mitchell County, the Amy counties, the plurality of voters, registered voters, are unaffiliated and independents. If when I walk around the street of Burnsville, doesn't take very long, but there's lots of little shops, beautiful little place. I encourage you to come and spend money there. It's really wonderful. There's a music shop next to the candle store where I go in, and there's a fellow there named Doyle Blevins. And Doyle, turns out, his papaw and my papaw grew up in the same holler, and they worked together. They were carpenters. Doyle likes airplanes, and he says, well, I said, well, Doyle, you know, I'm running for Congress. He says, oh, that's great, Paul. And I said, well, I'm a Democrat. And he says, well, I vote for the person. I don't vote for the party. And I said, well, that's nice to know. And he says, but I voted for Trump. And I said, well, that's okay. And he is we have a lot in common. We have common sort of heritage. We have common interest in science and STEM. Doyle, however, believes that the Bible is God's written truth. I believe in the fossil record, and but that's okay. I said, Doyle, I'm not going to tell you what to believe. And he says, well, I don't want to tell you what to believe either, Mr. Maddox. I said, well, that's nice, Doyle. And so these are the people. This is how we get to the middle, is we talk to people, and we just let them know that we're just normal people, just like they are. And we don't want anybody to suffer. We want to raise people up, not push them down.
Thank you.
Doyle doesn't know I use his name a lot, by the way.
Maybe shouldn't have used the last name.
I'm liberal in a lot of ways. I have a lot of liberal ideas. Healthcare for all. But I went to school at Georgia Tech in Atlanta, and let me tell you, there are a lot of Republicans at that school. I'm a civil engineer, and you know, when going to school with those people, I can actually put myself in Republicans' shoes. I was raised sort of liberal and conservative, northern and southern. So I know a lot. I've had a lot of experience in different areas. And what we have to do to attract independent voters is win narratives. I don't know, do you remember anything about Sydney Sweeney? Were you aware of that thing at all, that social media thing? She did a commercial for American Eagle clothing. We lost that narrative, I gotta say. She was just doing a commercial making money. But frankly, what she should have said in that moment was that, look, the clothing store is American Eagle. They don't sell anything made in America. And frankly, for the prices that you have to pay at that store, they could. We need to get out there and win narratives. And it's not just something that is an issue or a platform for our party. We really have to anticipate things. Like I've said, I'm a political strategist, I'm a military strategist, I play chess. I'm an internationally rated chess player. That way I can see what my opponent is thinking, and I know when someone is lying to me. So I can understand when there's going to be a narrative that comes up that we need to take a certain stance on, and that's the way we win independent voters. Thank you.
At the end of the day, every single person here, they want we all want freedom and liberty. We're all aiming for the same thing. Maybe there's a couple different ways that we want to get there, but at the end of the day, we're more alike than we think. I mean, we try to divide ourselves by political parties or by conservative or liberal, and I consider myself a classical liberal. But that doesn't define who I am. I'm still a human being with feelings and emotions. When we can be authentic and we can be ourselves and we stop pandering to our base and stop pandering to what we think people want to hear, and we're an authentic person, people start listening. We all want the best for North Carolina, the best for our country. We all want to be successful, and we want all of you to be successful. How we get there may be different, so we have to stop pinning people based on party. And what it tells me is the unaffiliated voters are growing at a rapid pace. It's the fastest growing group of voters in North Carolina, which what tells me is people are sick of partisanships. They're sick of the parties not following any kind of principles, not following, what they were founded on, and they're leaving. They're leaving the major parties. They are in droves. The numbers prove it. Look at the North Carolina Board of Elections page. It outnumbers Republicans and Democrats by far, and that is what's happening because people want authenticity. They don't want to play politics anymore. They want to know that you care. Nobody cares what you believe until they believe that you care. And once they know that you care, they listen. So,
Thank you.
So in my time of doing direct service, I've worked with a lot of people, and that includes people who have misdemeanors and felon on their record. I've worked with people who are gangbangers, who are people of sexual assault, who are murderers. I've worked with people who are Proud Boys. And what I can tell you right now is, I agree, when people know that you care, they tend to open up. When you show a level of unconditional positive regard and wanting to see someone succeed, regardless of your perspective or bias, people pick up on that. If I can have a conversation with a man who is trying to see his daughter again about what recovery looks like, despite the fact that he was in a gang in jail, a prominent white supremacist gang, I can have conversations with anyone because I do care. You don't get into direct service because it's lucrative or you want notoriety. You do it because you care. And I think that that is a huge aspect of this that needs to be present when we talk about how we appeal to another human being. Right now, it's been mentioned already that the largest growing voter bloc is unaffiliated. But it's also worth mentioning that the unaffiliated vote on specific issues. What are the issues that are affecting everyone? Affordability, healthcare, the economy, housing. It's hard to play the games of partisans when everyone is struggling at the exact same time. And the last thing I'll say is I don't believe that there really is a left versus right. I think everything is a top versus down, and the second that we start showing some class solidarity, we are actually going to be the country that we need to be.
The way you attract people to vote for you, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated, is you give them reasons to vote for you. And I've shared many of those things tonight, focused on the things that we probably all have in common. We need to be able to afford life. We want a better life for our kids. We want a better environment. We want an education for our kids. We want to be able to afford a house. We want to be able to live a decent retirement. We want to have a job that we're respected in, that we have dignity in, all of those things. And when you run a campaign based on many of those things, which we are all trying to do, But when you do that, you attract those voters that are interested in those things, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or unaffiliated. And that's what I'm trying to do, is make sure that we actually solve problems for the American people, for the people in Western North Carolina. We need to make sure whoever gets elected and beats Chuck Edwards is ready to go, because we may not have another opportunity. And the way to ensure that we're doing that is to actually get these things done. Let's get universal health care. Let's get affordable child care. Let's get affordable housing. No one's going to argue with that. Thank you.
Thank you. My watch may be a little fast. I have 5:52, 5:56, anyway. 52, I'm sorry. So I'm just going to read these last two questions to you so that you can ponder over them in your free time. So at the next candidate forum, maybe these questions will come before you again, because we want to allow you time for the rebuttal. Do you support a two-state solution in Israel and Palestine? How are you going to work with the federal government to get FEMA funds released? How are you going to work with the federal government to get FEMA funds released? Okay. A little humor goes a long way. So we have about what? Do you want to continue with the rebuttal? Because we only have like about 6 or 7. Okay. So candidates, will you please offer a 1-minute closing statement? 1 minute.
My allegiance is not to any party. It's to the people of Western North Carolina. Full stop. And it has been my entire time of working here in Western North Carolina. Our campaign is reflective of that. The work I've done is reflective of that. I want you to hold me accountable. I want you to ask me the hard questions. I also want you to know that I will abide by a vote of no confidence. If 60% of Western North Carolina gets together and says, I am not doing the job that I need to do, I will step down, not because there is a law, but because it is the moral right thing to do. At that point, I have lost the trust of the people of Western North Carolina. And if I do not have that, then we need to do whatever it is possible to make sure that we have someone there. Thank you.
We're just going to go in line.
Again, thank you so much for coming out and for putting this on. A lot of people say libertarians are fiscally conservative and socially liberal. Well, that may be true, but I say I'm fiscally libertarian and I'm socially libertarian. And what that means is I'm for the people. Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. You could do whatever you want to do in the privacy of your own home. It's nobody's business. Just don't throw the first punch. Don't initiate force against another person, because then you have a right to self-defense. And I believe we have had a lot of punches thrown at us just in the form of injustice and all this kind of stuff. And I think that it's our turn now for self-defense, to fight back and to protect our freedoms, protect our liberties, protect our country, and to protect our state. And it's going to take all of us working together, because we can't rely on a certain branch of government. It has to be us. So thank you for coming.
All right. I know it's a cliche that we've seen, this is the most important election. We've seen that every election. I do really feel like this might be the most important any of us have faced. And the choice is with you. You will make a decision. Who of us, the best candidate to beat Chuck Edwards? And that is a super important question that you will answer at the polls, either tomorrow, early voting, or March 3rd. I've talked a lot about my proven track record, my career of service. my skill set, I believe I am that person. I am Richard Hudspeth, and I hope I've earned your vote here today. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you all.
I want to thank you all, and I want to thank all the candidates. This is a journey, and it's an important journey. As are your local elections, I want to make sure to point out that you vote for your local elections. Vote thoughtfully. This is really, really important. This is not about a person or a place. It's about our country. And so, you know, be thoughtful. I'm an educator. I think there's a lot of people in Congress I want to educate about being good to other people, and that's my goal. And then if you elect me, then that's what I'm going to do. Have a great day.
I want to remind you, my name is Lee Whipple, and I also want to remind you that I am a licensed civil engineer. That means I know the right questions to ask when we're dealing with the DOT or the federal government about Hurricane Helene relief. The DOT has been putting up temporary bridges. I would have asked, why can't we make them permanent? Is it the piers, the foundations? Is it the bearing plates? Is it, why couldn't we use modular bridges? You know, I know some of the questions to ask. And I also feel that I'm a good candidate for affordable housing. With all the experience that I have with subdivisions that I've designed, I think that I have ideas that I don't have time to show you, but I definitely have ideas to bring housing costs down. I think it's really great that you guys came out here to see about the candidates tonight. I'm glad that all of us were able to talk to you. My name is Lee Whipple. Please, I ask for your vote in the primary for North Carolina District 11. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stand and give a round of applause for the candidates, please. Thank you. Now, let's give an applause for each and every one of you that took time out of your busy day to come to this forum. Yeah. And we want to thank the organizations that came together to put this candidate forum together. As was stated before, we all are nonpartisan, but we believe in order for you to be a more informed community, helps you make the right decision. Most important decision is who will represent us in Washington, D.C. So once again, thank you for allowing me to be your commentator. I think I might even take this on as another career. And thank you. May God bless each and every one of you.